Welcome to the online version of the I-495 and I-270 P3 Program and Managed Lane Study Alternatives Public Workshop presentation. This video is the same presentation provided at the 8 public workshops held in April and May of 2019, where project staff members discussed the potential benefits and effects of the alternatives being evaluated. These workshops are focused on providing detailed answers to many of the questions that were raised during last summer's public workshops and the numerous community meetings we have held since then. It's important to remember that this is not a public hearing where formal testimony is taken. Those meetings will occur in early 2020. Our focus during the 8 public workshops is to provide you an update of where we are in the process and receive your feedback. At the end of the video, we'll tell you how you can submit your feedback and comments. If you need assistance with providing comments, please call the study toll-free number at 833-858-5960. This presentation will cover the Program Need, National Environmental Policy Act or NEPA process, alternatives development and screening, including the recommended alternatives retained for detailed study, next steps, and ways to get regular updates and stay connected. The biggest reason that Maryland needs this program is to address traffic congestion. The National Capital Region experiences severe congestion 7 to 10 hours a day. These delays affect our children's bus rides to school, travel to sporting events, delivery of produce to grocery stores, and of course, our commutes to work. Collectively, it's about the loss of our time and the impact on our quality of life and the economic viability of the region. Traffic congestion causes us to waste time, energy, and money. In 2016, the cost of congestion was estimated at $1.3 billion in the Maryland National Capital Region. This was a 33% increase since 2013. A recent independent study calculated that the average driver here loses 87 hours and over $2,000 each year due to congestion. As the population in the National Capital Region is projected to increase by 1.3 million people by 2040, traffic congestion will continue to grow on I-495 and I-270 if we don't do something to address the problem. The chart on the left shows how many more vehicles are projected to be on our roadways by 2040. 282,000 vehicles per day on I-495 and nearly 300,000 vehicles per day on I-270. The map on the right shows that both in the AM and PM peak periods, traffic is congested on the entire length of the Capital Beltway in Maryland and on segments along northbound and southbound I-270. The National Capital Region Transportation Planning Board, which is the metropolitan planning organization for the region, recently completed a long-range transportation plan, known as Visualize 2045. As part of Visualize 2045, significant investment is planned for public transportation in the National Capital Region through 2045, at nearly a 2-to-1 ratio when compared to highway improvements. The Planning Board recognizes and acknowledges that transit alone cannot address the travel demand in the region, and a balanced transportation network, including highway improvements, is needed. In fact, the Visualize 2045 plan, which the region approved, explicitly calls for a regional network of managed lanes. I-495 and I-270 are part of this plan. The I-495 and I-270 P3 program is more than just highway improvements. While it includes over 70 miles of interstate in Maryland along I-495 and I-270, it will also enhance existing and planned mobility and connectivity for other modes of travel, including transit. The P3 program begins at the George Washington Memorial Parkway in Virginia, where the Virginia Department of Transportation's I-495 Northern Extension, or NEXT, project ends. It is an independent study looking to extend their express lanes 2.5 miles north to the American Legion Bridge. Our program will tie into those improvements, addressing the regional bottleneck of the American Legion Bridge, and then continue along the Capital Beltway, ending west of Maryland Route 5. The program also includes I-270 from the east and west spurs at the Capital Beltway up to I-70 in Frederick. Our first study is the I-495 and I-270 Managed Lane Study. It is for the Capitol Beltway in Maryland from the George Washington Memorial Parkway in Virginia, including the American Legion Bridge, to west of Maryland Route 5, and along I-270 from the Capitol Beltway to I-370 at the Inner County Connector. Preliminary planning for the section of I-270 from I-370 to I-70 in Frederick will begin this spring. To implement any improvements of a build alternative, a potential phasing plan is being considered. It is proposed to be implemented in 3 phases. Phase 1 would start on I-495 at the George Washington Memorial Parkway in Virginia, include improvement of the American Legion Bridge, and extend to I-95. Phase 2A on I-270 would start at I-495 and extend to I-370, while Phase 2B on I-495 would start at I-95 and extend to west of Maryland Route 5. This phasing would address the most congested highway segments first and allow Phases 2A and 2B to be delivered at the same time. We envision that Phase 1 would begin shortly after approval of a record of decision. Construction could start in late 2021, and Phases 2A and 2B would begin within 2 years of beginning Phase 1. Phases 3A and 3B will be part of future environmental studies, with preliminary planning for Phase 3B beginning this spring. The I-495 and I-270 Managed Lane Study is carefully following the National Environmental Policy Act, also known as NEPA. NEPA is a federal law that is procedural in nature, which means it dictates a decision-making process and not the final outcome. The NEPA process began with issuing a notice of intent to initiate the environmental review process and holding multiple scoping meetings last April. The purpose of those meetings was to seek public input into the scope of the study, including the purpose and need, potential alternatives, and environmental considerations. We then held several public workshops last July to seek public input on the preliminary range of alternatives. The current series of public workshops are intended to present the traffic, environmental, and financial analysis of the screened alternatives and identify the recommended alternatives retained for detailed study. The purpose and need of this study reflect concerns related to the I-495 and I-270 corridors that have been identified by state, local, and regional transportation professionals over many years, not universal transportation policy concerns. The purpose of this study is to develop a travel demand management solution that addresses congestion, improves trip reliability on I-495 and I-270 within the study limits, and enhances existing and planned multimodal mobility and connectivity. This study looks to accommodate existing traffic and long-term traffic growth, enhance trip reliability, provide additional roadway travel choices, accommodate homeland security, and improve the movement of goods and services. Additional goals of this study include incorporating funding sources for financial viability and developing the study in an environmentally responsible manner. The alternatives process is iterative, where the range of alternatives is narrowed as more information becomes available. Input from the agencies and the public has been and will continue to be accepted throughout the alternatives screening process. First, a full spectrum of 15 potential alternatives for consideration was developed and presented for feedback at the July 2018 public workshops. Next, using the screening criteria established from the purpose and need, the preliminary alternatives were narrowed down to 7 screened alternatives that were presented in our newsletter and on the program website in February 2019. The screening criteria included engineering considerations such as accommodating existing and long-term traffic growth, enhancing travel time reliability, providing a roadway travel choice, and ease of usage. It also considered multimodal connectivity, like enhancing access for transit, accommodating new or modified transit service, the movement of goods and services, homeland security, and environmental and financial considerations. Since the initial screening, additional traffic, financial, and environmental analyses have been completed on the screened alternatives. Based on those results, we found that all 7 screened alternatives are considered reasonable, meaning they meet the purpose and need, and are all recommended to be retained for detailed study in the draft environmental impact statement. The next 7 slides show graphical representations of the typical section for each alternative retained for detailed study, and highlight some global measures of our analyses. For further details, such as specific traffic information for trips, noise, and other environmental information, we encourage you to review the presentation boards available at our public workshops and under Meeting Materials Open House Display Boards on the website. Each build alternative includes the addition of either high occupancy toll, known as hot lanes, or express toll lanes, known as ETLs. The difference between hot lanes and ETLs is that ETLs require all vehicles that use the lane to pay a toll, where hot lanes allow for reduced tolls when a vehicle has a minimum number of passengers. A few other general points to note on the hot lanes and ETLs. These lanes will be separated from the general purpose lanes by a buffer with flexible posts, similar to what you see on I-495 in Virginia. Access is being planned generally from interchanges and designated ramps only to the hot and ETL system. You can see these locations under Meeting Materials Open House Display Boards on the website. Access of this type is generally safer and improves operations of the overall system. Alternatives that consider an ETL system would retain the HOV lane on I-270 as it is today, with access from the general purpose lanes. Additionally, on I-270, the collector-distributor roadway system is proposed to be removed from all build alternatives in response to public comment to minimize impacts and stay within the existing footprint. The first alternative that is recommended to be retained for detailed study is no build. It considers all projects in the constrained long-range plan, including significant transit improvements like the Purple Line, multiple planned bus rapid transit projects, and increased MARC capacity and frequency, but does not include any of the build improvements considered in the next 6 alternatives. Because this alternative does not meet the purpose and need, it is being used as a baseline to compare the results of each build alternative versus not building the potential improvements for each alternative. The next 6 build alternatives all include the addition of either high occupancy toll lanes or express toll lanes. Alternative 5, shown here, features a 1-lane hot lane system on both I-495 and I-270 in each direction. To create the hot lane system, 1 lane is added in each direction on I-495, and the existing high-occupancy vehicle lanes on I-270 are converted to hot lanes. This alternative would reduce delay by 20% in the morning and 22% in the evening when compared to the no build, and would decrease delay on the local system by 3.2%. The average savings per commuter would be 45 hours and $900 per year. This type of single-lane system, however, would be constrained by the slowest moving vehicle, be less reliable, and less flexible to adapt to incidents. Alternative 8 provides a 2-lane express toll lane system on I-495 in each direction, and 1 ETL on I-270 in each direction. To add the ETL system, 2 lanes are added in each direction on I-495 and 1 in each direction on I-270, while retaining the high-occupancy vehicle lanes. This alternative would reduce delay by 24% in the morning and 33% in the evening when compared to the no build, and would decrease delay on the local system by 6.3%. The average savings per commuter would be 59 hours and $1,180 per year. Similar to Alternative 5, this type of single-lane system on I-270 would be constrained by the slowest moving vehicle, be less reliable, and less flexible to adapt to incidents. Alternative 9 provides a 2-lane high-occupancy toll lane system on both I-495 and I-270 in each direction. 2 lanes are added in each direction on I-495 and 1 in each direction on I-270. The existing HOV lane is also converted to a hot lane. This alternative would reduce delay by 34% in the morning and 33% in the evening when compared to the no build, and would decrease delay on the local system by 6.8%. The average savings per commuter would be 73 hours and $1,460 per year. Because it has multiple lanes in each direction, this type of system would allow for passing of slower moving vehicles, be more reliable, and more adaptable to incidents than single-lane or reversible alternatives. Alternative 10 provides a two-lane express toll lane system on both I-495 and I-270 in each direction. 2 lanes are added in each direction on I-495 and on I-270. The existing HOV lane is retained on I-270. This alternative would reduce delay by 35% in the morning and 35% in the evening when compared to the no-build, and would decrease delay on the local system by 6.4%. The average savings per commuter would be 72 hours and $1,440 per year. Because it has multiple lanes in each direction, this type of system would allow for passing of slower-moving vehicles, be more reliable, and more adaptable to incidents than single-lane or reversible alternatives. Alternative 13B is similar to Alternative 9 on I-495, with a two-lane high-occupancy toll lane network in each direction. On I-270, however, a two-lane reversible hot lane network is provided by converting the existing HOV lanes into reversible hot lanes. The hot lanes would generally operate in the southbound direction in the morning and the northbound direction in the evening, with an approximate 2 to 2.5 hour shutdown in the afternoon and overnight to allow the lanes to reverse. This alternative would reduce delay by 27% in the morning and 22% in the evening when compared to the no-build, and would decrease delay on the local system by 6.3%. The average savings per commuter would be 65 hours and $1,300 per year. It would not serve demand in the off-peak direction, would be less flexible in adapting to incidents, and requires downtime for changeovers. Alternative 13C is the same as Alternatives 8 and 10 on I-495, providing a two-lane express toll lanes network in each direction. On I-270, however, a two-lane reversible ETL network is provided by adding 2 lanes and retaining the HOV lanes separately as they exist today. The reversible ETLs would operate the same as the reversible hot lanes in Alternative 13B. This alternative would reduce delay by 26% in the morning and 35% in the evening when compared to the no-build, and would decrease delay on the local system by 6.2%. The average savings per commuter would be 64 hours and $1,280 per year. It would not serve demand in the off-peak direction, would be less flexible in adapting to incidents, and requires downtime for changeovers. We are looking to provide significant multimodal improvements and opportunities for Marylanders traveling around and living within the National Capital Region. This includes improving access and connectivity for transit riders, pedestrians, and bicyclists. We are also looking to enhance direct and indirect access to transit stations and planned transit-oriented developments near I-495 and I-270, like those at Shady Grove, Greenbelt Metro, New Carrollton, Largo, and Branch Avenue, making it easier for people to get to Metro lines, Mark lines, and the Purple Line. Enhanced transit service is also a complement to managed lanes. Whether it's a more reliable trip for those riding the bus or creating incentives for carpool and vanpool formation, there are significant benefits and reasons for transit and ride-sharing groups to see the advantages of managed lanes. For example, public buses will be allowed to use the ETLs and hot lanes in each of the proposed alternatives, improving travel times for riders. The map on the right shows a potential express bus route connecting activity centers in Bethesda and Tysons. Express toll lanes, or ETLs, and high-occupancy toll lanes, or hot lanes, can benefit everyone, even those who may never use them. That's because these lanes provide the opportunity for travelers to choose to pay a toll for guaranteed reliable and reduced travel times. And when some people use these new lanes, travelers in the free lanes will see reduced travel times as well. Travelers on the I-495 and I-95 hot lanes in Virginia and the I-95 ETLs north of Baltimore have experienced this effect firsthand. Some ask why we are only looking at ETL and hot lanes now. Both ETLs and hot lanes would operate using congestion pricing, meaning that toll prices change based on real-time traffic conditions. This ensures that traffic in the lanes continues to flow, moving more traffic in the lanes than the same number of general-purpose lanes could. The Federal Highway Administration notes that congestion pricing has been the single most viable and sustainable approach to reducing congestion. In addition to more efficiently moving traffic through the corridor, the overall system will also be upgraded. The long-standing regional bottleneck at the American Legion Bridge will finally be eased. New bridges and smoother pavements will be provided at no cost to the Transportation Trust Fund, which means more funding can be utilized for other vital transportation improvements across the state. The improvements to I-495 and I-270 will reduce traffic on local roads, improve access to job centers by an estimated 10 to 15%, and play a vital role in efficiently moving goods through the region, which is especially important since the amount of freight shipped through Maryland is expected to double in the next 25 years. Now that we've seen what's been done, let's talk about what's next. After these workshops, we will complete more detailed analysis of the alternatives retained for detailed study and identify the MDOT SHA recommended preferred alternative. All of this detailed information will be documented in the draft environmental impact statement and technical reports to be released to the public at the end of the year. Early next year, we will hold public hearings and take formal testimony. By fall of 2020, we will address all comments and release the final environmental impact statement and record of decision. We will be working to further avoid and minimize any potential property needs that have been preliminarily identified as we continue to develop the environmental impact statement. If property is needed, we would start that process after the record of decision. Shortly after the record of decision, we expect additional federal approvals and permits to be issued, so we may move forward with construction of the first phase of the study beginning by late 2021. MDOT SHA is committed to keeping the public informed about this important study. To learn more, please visit the project website at 495-270-p3.com. You can also reach the study team and provide comments by sending an email to 495-270-p3 at sha.state.md.us. or by mailing your comments to Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration, I-495 and I-270 P3 Office, 707 North Calvert Street, Mail Stop P-601, Baltimore, Maryland 21202. Comments are accepted at any time. However, we are requesting comments from these workshops by June 14, 2019, to include in our workshop report. If you need assistance with submitting comments, please call our toll-free line at 833-858-5960. Thank you for participating in our online public workshop.